Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Charlene Israel. New concerns of a Russian military invasion in eastern Ukraine today. Russian troops now control an airport near their naval base in Sevastopol. The Ukrainian Interior Minister calls it a military invasion and occupation. Meanwhile, a standoff with gunmen occupying the Crimean parliament is well into its second day. George Thomas brings us the latest.
For a second day, about 50 pro-Russian gunmen control the parliament here in Simferopol, southern Ukraine. They are reportedly armed with automatic weapons, explosives, and enough ammunition to last a month. Authorities have surrounded the building. The country's new interim president has ordered the military to use whatever means necessary to retake the building.
Anyone who tries to take over the government buildings in Ukraine's east, west, center, south and north is going to be treated as having committed a crime against the government of Ukraine.
CBN News remained on the scene several hours after the men entered the building. According to witnesses, masked gunmen stormed Parliament early Thursday and hoisted a Russian flag atop the building. Since then, hundreds chanting Russia have been protesting outside Parliament, demanding lawmakers take up a referendum about seceding from Ukraine and joining Russia.
The drama unfolding here outside the Crimean parliament comes at a very tenuous time here for the folks in southern Ukraine. You see, they've been seeing the events playing out in the capital city, Kiev, and they, bottom line, do not like the fact that Viktor Yanukovych was impeached, that he was removed from office. Neither do they trust the new leadership that has taken control of the country.
What we have here is a group of people who wants to be connected with Russia because we no longer support or trust the Ukrainian government.
The standoff has dramatically increased tensions in an already volatile region where the population's loyalty is divided. This week, Ukraine warned Russia not to intervene militarily.
Any movements by the military beyond this territory will be considered as military aggression.
Russia's surprise announcement to hold military exercises close to Ukraine's border hasn't helped tensions either. Meanwhile, for the first time since his impeachment, former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych appeared on television refusing to accept his removal. This as Ukraine's parliament begins the job of recovering some of the billions of dollars that went missing during his time as president. George Thomas, CBN News, Simferopol, Ukraine.
Al-Qaeda's leader in Afghanistan is plotting a comeback once U.S. and international forces withdraw from the country. U.S. officials say the terrorist leader is laying the groundwork, bringing in small numbers of experienced militants to train a new generation of fighters. Meanwhile, the U.S. has stepped up drone strikes in two mountainous eastern provinces, seeking to prevent the creation of terrorist training camps. U.S. and Afghan negotiators are stalled over a troop agreement which could result in a total pullout by U.S. forces, making it harder to keep al-Qaeda and the Taliban from gaining strength. A hand grenade exploded inside the courtyard of a Catholic church in the Gaza Strip Wednesday. The attackers also wrote a derogatory slogan on the church wall. No further damage or injuries were reported. The Palestinian Center for Human Rights condemned the act and called for a serious investigation. The number of Christians in Gaza are rapidly shrinking due to violent persecution in recent years. A California man who plotted to blow up a bank last year was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Matthew Lanza wanted to be part of the Taliban, so he tried to detonate an SUV full of chemicals. The vehicle and the chemicals were supplied by FBI agents after Lanza made contact with an undercover agent who pretended to have Taliban connections. He helped Lanza build the phony car bomb. Lanza was arrested as he tried to set off the fake explosion. California is experiencing a deluge of dangerous rain that fears flash flooding and deadly mudslides, and dozens of flights have been canceled or delayed because of the rainy weather. Californians have been praying for rain, but this is just too much, too fast. California is getting drenched with desperately needed rain after one of the worst droughts in years. The National Weather Service predicts the storm could bring the most rain Southern California has received in almost 2 years. Many in the state prayed for rain, and downpours soaked the region with more on the way. Forecasters say the rainfall totals will reach up to 3 inches across the coasts and valley, with up to 6 inches in the foothills and the mountains.
We need it. I don't necessarily like it, but we need it.
In the Bay Area, the storms snapped trees. wreaked havoc on the roads. More than 100 crashes were reported in LA County. On Thursday, some 1,000 homes in the suburbs of Los Angeles were forced to evacuate.
Just everything in the suitcases, papers, special items.
A 10-mile stretch of the Pacific Coast Highway is closed in Ventura County because of the likelihood of rock slides. There are also big worries about flash flooding and mudslides in areas recently burned by wildfires. Residents in the path of the storm prepared for the worst, filling sandbags around their homes.
I think we're a little aware that a lot of rain in a short period of time could create some problems with mudslides.
It's going to cause major problems on Friday, from the possibility of flash flooding to mudslides to major travel delays.
Forecasters say the full force of the storm could be felt this morning, with rain falling up to an inch per hour. And the same storm will move across the country over the weekend. It could bring snow, ice, and rain to the central and eastern U.S. by Sunday and Monday. Well, the state of Kentucky must recognize gay marriages performed in places where it is legal. That was the decision from a federal judge in the state. It means married gay couples can now have the same benefits of traditionally married couples in Kentucky. In 2004, voters passed a constitutional amendment defining marriage as between a man and a woman. Retired Pastor Bob Russell says the government is trampling the rights of Kentucky voters and people with religious convictions against gay marriage.
Well, I think the people of Kentucky have spoken by their vote, and I hate to see the government step in and just override the voice of the people. And I think we see religious freedom being infringed on again and again, and this kind of ruling limits the opportunity for people who have convictions about this issue to take a stand against it.
Kentucky's Attorney General has asked for a stay on the ruling pending an appeal. The Tea Party movement marked its 5th anniversary Thursday. Members say they stand ready to use their political force to challenge both President Obama and the Republican establishment this year. Republican primaries this election year will be a crucial test for the movement. Tea Party-backed candidates are challenging Republican candidates in many states, including Kentucky, Kansas, and Mississippi. It's a story that stars too many young minority men, fatherless homes that too often end in disappointment and prison. But as Jennifer Wishon reports, the president wants to change that with his new program called My Brother's Keeper.
When Chicago high school student Christian Champagne learned about a program called BAM, a name that stands for Becoming a Man, he tried it because once a week it got him out of geometry class. But what started as an excuse changed his life.
A year ago, I was closed off. Like, I don't care about people. I care about myself. But now I can have a conversation. You know, gives me confidence and a boost to my self-esteem, and helps me open up about what's going on in my life and how I feel that day.
Like too many men of color, Champagne's father is rarely around, and boys without dads are much more likely to be poor and fail at school.
Your dad is the #1 goal of that standard of how to be a man and how to handle your business like a man.
Thursday, he introduced another man who grew up without his dad, the President of the United States.
I could see myself in these young men. And the only difference is that I grew up in an environment that was a little bit more forgiving. So when I made a mistake, the consequences were not as severe.
So the president is launching My Brother's Keeper, a new initiative to encourage more programs like BAM that keep minority men on track by helping them mature emotionally and set worthwhile goals. Instead of tax dollars, private foundations are investing hundreds of millions of dollars to find out which strategies work. Despite being the nation's first African-American president, Mr. Obama rarely targets programs to specific groups. But in this case, he says, unlocking the full potential of young Black and Latino men will eventually benefit all Americans.
In this country, we have a responsibility to help each other. And so when we see people who are mired in these horrible environments, we all have to stand up and do something.
For young men like Champagne and Karan Turner, having a man, especially the president, take an interest in their lives means everything.
He wants us to live up to our full potential, and he knows that we can do better, and he wants us to strive for more.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, the White House.
Coming up, after having an Oscar nomination rescinded, a look at how Johnny Erickson Tata is still using a film's song to minister to others. A Bible saved the life of an Ohio bus driver who was shot. Earlier this week, Ricky Wagner was standing outside his bus when 3 men suddenly approached him. They shot him in the leg and chest, but police say the 2 bullets that hit his chest were stopped by a Bible in his shirt pocket. Wagner told police he just started carrying the Message version of the New Testament about a week ago. News reports indicate Wagner may have been the victim of a hate crime. The 3 attackers were black and they used a white slang term when they targeted him. Well, the Oscars are just a few days away, and many were looking forward to seeing Johnny Erickson Tata perform her Oscar-nominated song Alone Yet Not Alone at the award ceremony. But the Academy withdrew the nomination over what some call a technicality. I recently caught up with Johnny at the Movie Guide Awards in Hollywood, where she performed the inspirational hymn. Author and speaker Johnny Erickson Tata felt honored when she was approached about singing a song for a new Christian film. The song, Alone Yet Not Alone, is the title for the film of the same name. The true life movie tells the inspiring story of 2 women and their journey of faith and survival during the French and Indian War. Leading through the wilderness. A diving accident in 1967 left Johnny a quadriplegic and in a wheelchair, something that made recording the song a big challenge.
My lungs don't work very well. I don't have a lot of strength physically, but you do, Lord Jesus. Let me borrow your lungs, Jesus. And he certainly gave me his strength.
Johnny's rendition of the song was so good, it received an Oscar nomination for Best Song. But the Oscar nod caused an uproar in Hollywood and fueled questions about why a little-known song, sung by an unknown artist, could receive such recognition. The Academy investigated and later pulled the nomination, saying composer Bruce Broughton used his influence as a former Academy governor to get the nomination. Broughton says all he did was send an email asking others to consider the song. The Academy president said sending the email crossed the line because it gives the appearance of an unfair advantage. Broughton says that's ridiculous.
If you actually read the rules, and you can go on the Oscar.com website and read the rules, I didn't really break any rules. What I admit to doing was sending some emails to people who would probably who I thought would likely overlook the song. They don't agree with me on what I did, and that's basically what it is. As far as the rule breaking, you know, all of the songs that are nominated and all the songs that weren't nominated have tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars of promotion behind them with major studios.
Our assignment when we were doing it was to write a song as inspirational as Amazing Grace before Amazing Grace ever existed. We tried to make it simple, universal, and just timeless. And memorable.
Many see the Academy's move as bigotry against Alone Yet Not Alone's song and message. Other members of the Academy, including famous film composer Hans Zimmer, calls the ruling unfair. But Johnny hopes that good will come from the controversy surrounding the song.
Well, when I heard the nomination was rescinded, my first thought was, oh, come on, really? But God's purposes are working out, because some of this controversy, I think, might be drawing more attention to the song and even to the film than had it just sailed through to the Oscars.
It's still great to see Johnny perform that song at the Movie Guide Awards. And you can stay with us. We'll be right back after this. An exclusive look into the biggest Christian film to hit movie theaters in a decade. We'll talk with the producers of Son of God when we come back. More More than 100 million viewers tuned in to watch the Bible miniseries last year. Now the same producers, Mark Burnett and Roma Downey, are bringing the life of Jesus to the big screen. That movie is called Son of God, and it opens across the country today. Ephraim Graham talked with the Hollywood power couple about this highly anticipated movie.
A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel.
The Word became flesh.
From humble birth to miraculous resurrection, Jesus' story becomes larger than life in the film Son of God.
We just knew that the Jesus story needed to be presented in a standalone experience.
Co-producer Roma Downey is best known for her role on the hit television series Touched by an Angel. Her husband and partner, Mark Burnett, is the creative genius behind reality shows Survivor, The Voice, and Shark Tank. They came up with the idea of this film while producing the wildly successful Bible miniseries for the History Channel.
While we were making the series, Roma looked at me and said, "This footage is so amazing. The special effects are going to be so big. This should be on the big movie screen." So we started this 2 years ago, way before the series came out.
Who do you think I am?
You are the Son of God.
You can't have known this by what you know of me, Peter.
Jesus hasn't been on the big screen for 10 years since Passion of the Christ, and his whole life hasn't been seen on the big screen for 50 years since the greatest story ever told. So we just thought this was an opportunity to bring Jesus to the big screen for a whole new generation.
The couple shot the film on location in Morocco with an international cast that includes some familiar faces from the Bible miniseries, like Diogo Morgado as Jesus.
My son.
Don't be afraid. Everything is possible with God.
Roma, you play the mother of Jesus as you did in the miniseries. How do you prepare to be Mary?
Oh, gosh, it was just such a privilege to be able to step into the role. I had never fully considered what the mother of Jesus might have been feeling, particularly in those scenes at the foot of the cross. There was a lot of prayer that went ahead. I just tried to bring a mother's heart to the role, to feel what a mother might feel, and it was a profoundly moving experience.
Son of God hits the big screen at a time when Hollywood is experiencing a faith revival, so to speak. A new Hollywood film is in production in the Holy Land. And there's already lots of buzz about Noah, set to hit theaters only weeks after Son of God's release.
Our Father in heaven feeds the birds of the air. How much more will he give to you?
This film is also getting a box office boost, with mega-church pastors like Joel Osteen and Rick Warren leading a theater takeover campaign, buying out screens in multiple theaters.
Put God first and everything else will follow.
What matters is how good is the movie, and we've now been to 20 cities and done preview screenings, and people are loving the movie experience. It's epic, it's lots of action, it's dramatic, but it's also so intimate.
How did this impact your personal lives, both of you believers? How did this affect your walk as you're making this and telling the story of Jesus?
I think the only thing could ever happen to anybody who believes in Jesus as we do, as you're working on this, is to get deeper and deeper. And also, we're married, and it's been a great, great journey for us.
We're still speaking to each other.
I'm married to an angel.
No, we always joke that a lot of couples can't even work in the garden together, and we've been producing now together for almost 5 years with the Bible series and now with Son of God. But it's just been great. It's deepened our friendship, deepened our marriage, and deepened our faith as well.
And a deeper faith is their prayer for all who see the film.
Tell us, are you the Son of God? I am.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Washington.
What are you saying?
It's a big weekend for Christian moviegoers. The new film called Son of God is hitting theaters. Here with more on that and other family-friendly movie reviews is Bob Waliszewski. He is director of Focus on the Family's entertainment review department called Plugged In Online. Now, Bob, before we get to the new movie about Jesus, let's start first with the new thriller that's starring Liam Neeson. It's called Non-Stop. How is that one for families?
Yeah, Julianne Moore's in it, Michelle Dockery. People will recognize her as Mary from Downton Abbey. This was a sit-on-the-edge-of-your-seat thriller set on an airplane. You're trying to figure out who done it as far as a terrorist is on board. But by the time the credits rolled and I figured out who done it, I really felt like the director hadn't connected the dots really well for me. That's from an entertainment point of view. From a more family-friendly point of view, Charlene, like Hollywood is so prone to do, this one adds a lot of language. And as such, I gave it a mere 2.5 out of 5 for family friendliness.
Wow, that's unfortunate. Well, many Christians are excited about the new film called Son of God by Mark Burnett and Roma Downey. Tell us more about it.
Boy, and I join that list of people that are excited about it as well. I love the raising of Lazarus from the dead, the healing of the leper, Jesus walking on the water, and Peter walking on the water as well. Now, of course, to tell a story properly about Christ, you are going to show the crucifixion. You are going to have Jesus being flogged and whipped. I would say probably don't bring your kids to this film until they've reached around the age of 12 on up. From that point, I give it a 4 out of 5. Again, I'm a huge fan. I hope and pray the film does well. It's going to plant a lot of seeds for the kingdom, and God bless Mark Burnett and Roma Downey for going out on a limb on this one for us.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're all excited about it. Thanks again, Bob Waliszewski, for joining us today. We appreciate it.
You bet.
Well, that's it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you join us next time. Have a great day. God bless.